I don't know if you realize this or not, but there's a bit of a hate on for people in Toronto and the GTA.
Toronto is turning into a joke around the world. It's lawlessness. It's complete chaos. They have no rules. They have no
Yeah.
way of getting fined. They have no licensing. They have nothing. And there's no competency tests for any of these guys driving to deliver food.
I had a really interesting conversation with Howard, who's a branding and marketing expert. And we're going to get into it a little bit. Howard, how you doing today, bud?
I'm okay, Randall, and please let me vent a little bit about Toronto that the rest of the country might even enjoy.
Okay, the country might enjoy it, and we may piss a few Torontonians off. Listen, let's get into it. This is what I'm here for.
From a brand perspective, Toronto is turning into a joke around the world. And I don't say that lightly because we used to be known as Toronto the Good. And with the crime rate, we're not even going to get into that. But I believe all this stems from the mayor of Toronto, who other Canadians might know a little bit about. But Olivia Chow is started to be known as OC, or One Clown, because all of these problems really stem from her. And from a business perspective, nobody really wants to come here because we're actually known right now for traffic congestion. And it's a silent killer to businesses across the GTA. And businesses are moving out. They don't want to come here. And as the economic engine of Southern Ontario, this is a huge problem.
Is Toronto or Southern Ontario the economic engine of Canada?
Yes, that's a simple answer.
Okay.
And I believe, from Mark Carney to Doug Ford to anybody in Canada would relate. Most of industry or corporations are housed in Southern Ontario. Other parts of the country have industry and they have their own little economic issues, but we in Toronto, it's slipping away, and it's going to be the ramifications for the country are horrible. And as Doug Ford is sort of right when he talks about the war on the car and Toronto, with the congestion. And I can just go to one thing that people are irate about. And it does affect other large cities in North America and certainly in Canada. But we instituted bike lanes to get people to travel, of which 6 months of the year, there's not a bike to be had in these lanes. We have snow removal problems. Sometimes we don't even get snow removal. We close pools when it's too hot. And it all stems from, and then we have studies afterwards. I don't know if the consultants move the snow or what happens, but in these bike lanes now, we are losing revenue just from the electronic bikes, the electronic scooters, the electronic or motorized unicycles, and they have become a safety issue like none other. You have them going on sidewalks the wrong way. They exceeded the speed limit. Red light cameras are a suggestion. Red light cameras, red lights at intersections are a suggestion. And if you take a look at the revenue that a car makes for a city, red light cameras, speed cameras, parking revenue, gas tax, all these things add revenue. E-bikes do not add a penny. There's no registration. There's no rules. It's the wild, wild west, especially for a pedestrian walking their dog. From a safety aspect, Randall, which you come from a background of safety, the hospitals are filling up with e-bike or electronic vehicles,
Did you
accidents.
did you see that video? It's out there. It kind of went viral. There's somebody. So e-bikes also include e-scooters. I'll
Right.
include e-scooters, and also like a unicycle, an electric unicycle. There's a guy doing almost 60 kilometers an hour on a unicycle, going down the road, no helmet on, no anything. And some people give the cops a hard time because I know that cops are starting to crack down on this. Listen, this has to happen. But I want to just kind of mention something else first. Now, From what I understand, I don't know where you live, but you're in Toronto, okay? I
Yes.
actually live outside Toronto, but I've also lived right across the country. I have a place in Prince Edward Island. I'm there quite a bit, but I lived in Vancouver or just outside Vancouver for almost 10 years. And I would say that I find Vancouver to be a healthier place to live. I find more people in the West Coast live a healthier lifestyle, I should say, than the East Coast. And than Toronto, I'll say. And this whole biking and bike lanes and everything else seemed to be an issue in Vancouver before it was Toronto. But when you bike in Toronto, you're taking your life in your hands. I mean, I remember some police officers giving some, not even cyclists, just families out riding their bikes, a bit of a hard time for riding on the sidewalks, because I know you're not supposed to ride on the sidewalk. However, who the hell would ride down Kingston Road because they're going into the city or some of these main streets in
Well,
Toronto?
honestly, Randall, I agree with you, and I know about that unicycle guy going 60 or 70 clicks without the helmet, but you've got these e-bikes with the fat tires now that
That's a whole
far
new
exceed
game.
the speed limit. Forget the ones that look like mini motorcycles. They might have a license on the back. Are there any courses that you have to take, or just a couple $1,000 to buy one to deliver
Yeah.
food? We've
Yeah.
spent millions of dollars to get hundreds of people to deliver food on the sidewalks to kill people because the bike lanes aren't necessarily fast enough. I have no problem with the cyclists. Why are the bike lanes on the main thoroughfares? Why aren't they on less than main thoroughfares? We took out parking machines and parking. If the war on the car again, where's the revenue from the parking machines? Where's the is there any revenue from the Uber driver bikes or the food delivery service bikes? They are swarming the city and they don't even let the bikes in the bike lane. And I have a
That's a good
for
point.
instance, give me this.
Okay.
Danforth Avenue. You can park to the left of the bike lane, almost in the middle of the street. If the passenger in a vehicle was getting out of the car, an e-bike goes into the car door, almost kills the person, and he starts yelling and screaming that he has the right of way, and he takes off. He doesn't care about the damage to the car or if the person was hurt. And I witnessed all this, and it's lawlessness. It's complete chaos,
It
and
is. Yeah, I'll give you that.
she still fights for bike lanes, and the premier's going, we got to take this to court. Give us back main streets, because Jim Nantz during the Canadian Open, CBS Sports, is talking about not necessarily the golf, but the congestion in Toronto. What company in the world wants to have a Canadian operation centered in southern Ontario when we have congestion? You can't even get to work, never mind the taxes and everything else. And now they're ordering everybody back into their office. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, you made a really good point there because when this was all coming into play about bike lanes, there was no e-bikes or e-scooters doing 60 kilometers an hour down the bike lanes. And from what I understand, the cyclists are kind of tired of that because they're not cut from the same cloth, right? Uh,
Exactly.
and of course, now you got these scooters on the sidewalk. So really good point. I'm going to mention something else. This is kind of off topic, but this is
That's
something
what's beautiful about Canada Off Script.
how is anybody supposed to get anywhere when the streetcars are in the center? Why are they not in the curb lane? And listen,
Well,
we
think
got
about
off.
this, Randall. No, it's
Yeah,
not off topic, because if a streetcar stops on King Street or
yeah,
on the vehicle stops somewhere, and they get out onto the island, then they cross the street. The bike lanes, those e-bikes don't stop for them to cross to get onto the
yes.
sidewalk.
Good point.
They have
Good
no
point.
rules. They have no
Yeah,
way of getting fined. They have no licensing. They have nothing. And there's no competency tests for any of these guys driving to deliver food.
that's again a really really good point.
You know what's maddening is you're sitting in this congestion that Toronto is known for. We do nothing with this problem. It's an economic disaster, congestion. And you look to your right, and there could be, a flurry of e-bikes going by you. I don't mind the guy pedaling. Honestly, He's going 10 clicks. And then they go through the red light. They never dismount, or they go on the sidewalk to then go through the red light across the crosswalk with the pedestrians. Everybody sitting in a car who's paying for the roads is absolutely at a wit's end. And if you can't get around, and if you're a small business on Bloor Street and they have these studies, businesses are thriving, well, cash and carry's out. And look at all the places for lease up Yonge Street, up University, Bloor, all the places where these bike lanes are, they're empty. Half the stores are gone. Now, are there other issues with this? Yes. Am I blaming bike lanes? No. Keep the cyclist alive. But this other thing, I'm telling you, we're living in a lawless state, and we're saying all the wrong things from the top down. We have no leadership on this issue, and businesses are getting smoked. Smoked.
Everybody's labeled as a cyclist, but a lot of people riding bikes are just, again, families out on the weekend, and maybe they want to go to a park, or they want to go to the water park, and they're all taking their bikes because there's no parking at the water park, and it's a pain to get there, and they got to pay for parking, so you want to hop on a bike. They have to have a safe way to get there. But what's a solution? So what do we have to do from here then? Canada Off Script, let's end on a positive note. What has to happen, in your eyes?
We need leadership on this issue to make it into an issue. No one talks about it. We talk about crime, rightly so. We talk about auto theft, insurance, taxes, the TTC, public transportation. We talk about all the other things. When something we can do something about, we do nothing. We make it worse. And I don't know the solution. I'm not a politician. I don't want to be a politician. But I can tell you this, that Toronto the good is no more, and Toronto the congested around the world has seen that. And it's something that we have to fix.
Well, thanks, Howard. Listen, thanks for stopping in today, and I appreciate you sharing that. I always appreciate your rants. And until the next time, we will chat soon, bud.
Take care.
Thanks for watching Canada Off Script. We're also on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, if that's more your thing. If you find this content entertaining or helpful at all, please consider subscribing. And until the next one, stay sharp, stay safe, stay Canadian.